Here's post number 16. I needed 17 of them, depending on how I do this, either 15 or 17, depending on how many bays that I wind up putting in. This makes 16. I'll need one more. Not sure. I might have one more log up there that I can make one out of, but just barely. So this was an ugly log. It was 21 inches here on the butt and 14 inches on the top. So it had a lot of taper in it, and it was a sweeper. It had a big jug butt and it had a big sweep in it. I wasn't sure what I was going to get out of it. I wouldn't want to make dimension lumber out of that because there's so much internal stress in that wood that everything would just turn out like a pretzel once you cut it and relieve the stress in it. So it makes a timber, but just barely. My first cut that I made there, I got, that's that bottom one there on the right. And that one on this side, the butt end of it is about 6 inches deep, and the other end of it was about 2 inches deep. And then the second cut is the piece that's laying there over on the ground, and that one I got 8 inches or so on the butt end of it, and about 2 or 3 inches, 3 inches I think on the top end of it, but it didn't even touch the log in the middle of the log. There was so much sweep in there. But I couldn't take much more out of it, or my fourth cut wouldn't have been any good, because there's the fourth cut laying on top there, and that one bowed the other way. So I've got 1.5 inches on this end, and about about 1 inch on the other end. But the other end's got a lot of wane on it because it was round there, and this end it squared up a little bit. So anyway, that was a tough log, and it was tough in more than one way. Like I said, it wound up making a timber out of it, and the timber has got wane in the middle of it. Oh, that's not going to hurt the timber, at least for the purpose it's going for here. If you needed a perfectly square 10 by 10 for strength, that would probably not be good, but for this it's not going to be bad. But the other thing they had was it had a big scar on it on this end on one side, and that's the side where that big butt cut was on it that cut halfway through. That's the face that's up on there now. And it had a big scar on there, a big damage spot from something hitting it, road machinery or something like that. This tree was growing right next to the road, and I didn't pick trees right next to the road specifically for that purpose because they have scars on them, and that's how rot gets started in those. Any place that there's a broken spot in the tree, in the bark, then moisture starts to get in there and you start getting rot, and these spruce trees are highly prone to rot. But that one was in the way. That one was one that had to come down to get some other trees down. So I cut it to get it out of the way. And this is the butt cut on that log. Almost all the rest of them that I've cut have been the second log up, or even the third log up on a couple of them. This was the butt log on this one. Well, anyway, where that scar was on there, that tree had tried to heal itself up. So there was a real dense wood there, a lot of sap in there. There's no rot in it, fortunately, but it was real dense, a lot more dense than the rest of the tree, even going through some of the knots. So when the blade got down to this end, it had a tendency to wander a little bit. This was the third face cut I made. So when I made that one, no, that was the second face cut I made. So when I made that one, I made it low enough to try to clear everything on both ends. I still didn't get it in the middle, but I made it low enough to clear on both ends. Then when I flipped it all the way over and made the fourth face cut, I left 1/4 inch so I could come back on this side and true it up a little bit. So I run the blade down through there again, and that trued it up a little bit. I took 1/4 inch off of it, but the tail end of this, where it went through that real dense wood, has still got some wowie in it. But it's serviceable the way it is. And some of these timbers, some of these posts are going to be used in the middle of the building. They won't have to be full 16 feet long. I think they'll be 10 feet long or something like that. So this end can be trimmed up like that, and we'll get into, like I said, it's a serviceable piece of wood. It's not pretty, and some people would probably like it for the decorative value of it, I guess, the rustic nature of it or something, but we like them perfect around here, but nothing's ever perfect. Anyway, that's number 16. I'll have to get it out of the way. I've got to go stack my pile up and get ready to put this one on. Because right now I got 15 in the stack, so there's 5 on each row, and then there's a couple rows of dimension lumber in between them So I've got some dimension lumber up there I need to get stickered and stacked up, and then make a spot for this one and the next one. And it might rain. It's rained a little bit overnight. It's supposed to forecast to be raining, but it's actually not too bad. It's cooled off a little bit with this overcast, so that's not so bad. There's number 17. That's the last one I need, 10 by 10 post I need for my plan that I've got in my head so far. And that's the last log that would make a 10 by 10. I've still got, maybe 8 or 10 16-foot logs, but none of them will make a 10-inch top on them. So those will be milled up. I'll make some more full dimension 2x6s, and then I'll make some dimension lumber. Gonna need 1x6s and 2x4s and all kinds of good stuff there. So most of those will be whittled down into something like that. I'm gonna need some more 4x4s and 6x6s for dunnage for stacking stuff on. And then the next big thing is the 20-foot logs, and those will be cut into 6x12s. But that's it on the 10 by 10s, I hope. I still got 6 more trees marked out in the woods that I could go get if I needed some more, and we'll probably need to get those to make more dimension lumber. I'm going to need 2x12s and stuff like that for floor joists and decking and all kinds of good stuff. But that's it for the 10 by 10s for now. We'll get all this stuff milled up before I decide to go out and cut any more trees down.